It gets better, I promise. I am proof it gets better. Who am I? My name is Chris. I'm a 22-year-old uh, guy, obviously. I live in Lenexa, which is a suburb of Kansas City, Kansas. I got my bachelor's degree in social work, and I'm now pursuing my master's degree in social work right now. I am Roman Catholic. I am a Democrat. My parents are from the Philippines, but I was born here in the States. I love music and food and hanging out with friends and art and all the fun things most people my age like doing. Oh, and I'm gay. In high school, I was pretty depressed, especially during my sophomore year. It was a combination of having a horrible relationship with my parents and being in an environment or a culture that didn't exactly, you know, accept most people who were different. Um, my parents and I were always fighting, and we never saw eye to eye on anything. I went to an all male Catholic high school, which preached acceptance um, of everyone, but being in a heterocentric and masculine centric environment wasn't always the easiest. I wasn't a jock by any means, so I wasn't always, all that popular. But, I felt like I was the only guy who was different. It was just hard hearing things like, "Oh, that's so gay," or "Oh, you're such a fag." The comments weren't always directed at me, um, but I still felt belittled and alienated just hearing those comments. And on top of that, my dad would randomly say comments like, "Don't watch that, or you'll be gay." Oops. Or "There's no way any child of mine is going to be gay." So I was struggling with, just being myself and being gay and being Catholic and being in this environment that was not, you know, that I didn't feel safe in, that I felt like I had to be someone else. And, I felt like I was the only person in the world who was struggling with this. I felt so alone. I felt like a balloon that was about to burst. I felt like so much pressure. I felt like there was, so much pressure for me to be someone who I wasn't. And all I wanted to do was be me. There was actually one night where I got so tired of it all that I planned to commit suicide. Luckily, there were a couple of people who I barely knew and a couple of my friends who stopped me that night. They gave me hope, and they let me know that it doesn't matter what other people think. They reminded me that the only person I had to be was me. They also reminded me that college wasn't too far away and I could leave once that happened if I wanted to. And that's what I did. I left the culture here in Kansas City, which, isn't always the most accepting, like I said. I decided to go to school in Chicago, and I told myself that this would be a fresh start. All my life, I wasn't able to make, very many decisions on my own, but this was, the one I was going to make for me. And when I did move to Chicago, I felt so free. I felt like I could be open about who I was and not have to worry about what other people thought. Um, and I was. I, didn't hide that I was gay. I, you know, didn't really brag about it at first. Well, maybe I did a little bit. But, over time, I was not afraid to let people know that I am interested in men and not women. I didn't have to hide any of that. I didn't have to hide that I liked shopping or that I liked to listen to Lady Gaga or Madonna or Justin Timberlake or anything about me. I was just me. Um, and it felt amazing. I met a lot of awesome friends who didn't care what I liked or who I liked or what kind of music I liked to listen to. I met friends who accepted me for who I was, which was amazing. I also got to meet a couple other gay guys, well, more than a couple, who went through a lot of the same things I went through. And I really felt, free and accepted, and I felt like I wasn't alone. While I was in Chicago, I also got the chance to become romantically involved with other guys without having to hide it from anyone. I was able to love someone who loved me back and didn't have to be ashamed about it. I even mustered up the courage to come out to my family. I actually wrote my mom a letter during spring break of my sophomore year, um, and wrote them and told them about how I felt and how I felt trapped at home. And one of the reasons why I moved to Chicago was because I didn't feel like I could be me while I was here in Kansas City. I also, brought up the fact that I felt that I was scared to come out to my dad, especially because of the comments that he made. But that I still love them, and that they could take as much time as they wanted. I'd always be their son, whether or not they chose to love me back was up to them, but I would still love them. And I actually snuck it in my mom's purse as she drove me back to the airport for me to fly back to Chicago at the end of spring break. About a week later, of a lot of anxiety, I felt so anxious during that whole week. I got an email from my mom saying that, this doesn't change anything. It was real short. It just said, this doesn't change anything. Dad and I still love you no matter what. We'll talk to you later on. Since then, my dad has stopped all the homophobic comments, and my mom has stopped trying to set me up with, her friends' daughters and trying to hook me up with other girls. We don't really talk about it all that often, but at least they know, and I know that they still love me, and I know that I can be myself around them. Now, all good things come to an end, and things come in flows. I'm no longer with the guy that I was dating in college, but it's okay. And I'm actually back here in Kansas City to pursue my master's degree at an excellent and very affordable institution. Although I would rather not be here in Kansas City because of the culture that still exists here, my life is still better. It is still better. I still am able to be myself as long as I allow myself to. But if you're ever feeling stuck or lost or just hopeless and alone, you're not the only one. I was once there. You have the power to stand up for yourself and make your life better. Though you may be still stuck in your parents' house, still under the roof, and still under their rules, there will be a time in the near future, probably less than 4 years from now if you're in high school, where you'll be able to, be on your own and do your own thing. Do whatever you want to do. You can do what I did and leave the city that you're currently in and go start a new life someplace else while still keeping contact with your family and friends. Or if you have to stay in an area close to where you are now, college is completely different. People are so much more accepting in college than there were in high school. High schoolers are mean. College kids are much nicer. And after that, you can still move away. It only gets better from here. Things really do get better. Things will change. I feel that if I went through my suicide in high school, I would be cutting myself short from all the amazing things that I have experienced over the past, let's see, when was it? 6 years ago. Committing suicide would have been a permanent fix to a temporary solution. I also would have let, everyone else who was, calling me or whoever a fag or whatever, I would have let them win. If you're gay, when you do come out, and I know eventually you will, don't feel like you also have to conform to the, the culture or the certain aspects of gay culture. Not all gay guys have to have fantastic fashion sense, and not everyone has to have super, muscular or super skinny figures, and not all gay guys have to dance to techno or house music. And girls, you don't have to be butch. You can be whoever you want. The important thing is to be yourself. Be who you want to be. And regardless if you're gay or not, if you're thinking about committing suicide, know that someone will miss you whether you know it or not. As a social worker, one of the hardest things for me to do is to listen to the sadness people have over the death, especially over the suicide of someone they knew, regardless of how close to them they were or not. You will be missed. And by committing suicide, you're just creating a permanent fix to a temporary solution. It gets better. It only gets better if you're alive to see it. If you want to talk to someone about any feelings of depression, you can call the Covenant House hotline at 1-800-999-9999 for a referral to a professional in your area. If you're currently having thoughts of suicide or are thinking about suicide, please call 911 immediately. You can also visit thetrevorproject.org for more information on gay and questioning youth. It gets better, I promise. I'm proof it gets better. It only gets better if you're alive to see it.